Hello. Happy belated Valentine's Day. I see you're not
Oh,
wearing any red, but it's a Brewer Pratt Solutions corporate color, so I'm wearing that for you. Hello.
did you get the roses? I think I did this joke last year. I remember us doing this joke last. Oh my
You
God,
you
but time
never send me
flies.
anything. I don't want you to send me anything because then you'll hold it over my head forever.
Yeah, yeah. Which
Valentine's
is
Day,
that why you don't send me anything either? No
exactly.
chocolates,
Because I respect our
no
friendship. That's
teddy
why I ignore
bears.
you. That's
Yeah,
why I
yeah,
ignore you.
yeah. You and every other woman on the planet. Go on anyway.
Can we talk about something important,
Just do it.
please? So, I don't know about you, but the new year always begins with new requests for surveys and industry data, and then
Yep.
output of industry research.
Hmm.
And Q4 2024 also had a lot of these, a state of the association kind of things. But
Yes.
I've noticed there were a couple really interesting ones that have come out so far in 2025. And I wanted to just chat with you, share with our association transformation listeners what some of this research is. We are in no way affiliated with the companies who have done it or are getting
No.
paid in any way
No.
for chatting
No.
about it. But
Mm-hmm.
I also want to chat about the efficacy of data and survey research these days. Is there a role for associations within their own industry and sector to do this?
Mm-hmm.
I was struck, and I'm struck daily with my own client surveys, how hard it is to get people to take surveys.
Yeah,
Um,
it's
and
almost
and yet there's
impossible.
a 30-page report, from this, consulting firm with their association outlook report, and it had less than a 1% return rate. Um,
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
just my most
Hmm.
recently I got the one from who's this from? Growth Zone. I got an interesting report from Growth Zone, and it was their annual association survey results. I thought was interesting. But what's your take on research in your sector? Is that a necessary part of an association's value proposition?
Hmm. I think it's probably an unexplored. I think it's an unexplored aspect of the value proposition. I'm not sure. I'm not sure that many associations, many membership bodies are doing it,
Mhm.
and whether that's a conscious decision to not do it, or whether it's simply something that hasn't sort of been discussed. Because
Right.
actually, I think having a coordinating role to collate data, analyze it,
To
and
what?
give us
To
what
collate?
collate data,
Okay, we're
collate
saying the same thing. Okay, just check.
collate to collate. Oh, yeah, to collate data,
Collate.
collate data, to pull some data together
Yeah,
and to tell a story with it.
yeah,
To context so that members can contextualize where they see themselves within their wider professional industry. It's
yeah.
probably a very useful, very handy tool. I think the massive sort of red warning light on it, of course, is around the quality and the
Right. The
quantity of
authenticity
data.
of the
Yes,
information,
yeah,
right. And
yeah.
with a lot of clients, especially those they're in a bit of an identity crisis. They're trying to figure out what their value proposition is
Mm,
moving forward.
hmm.
A lot of times it's a conversation around being the convener. You're the place where everyone within your profession comes. You're that networking community, or you are the think tank. You are the source of information for your sector, and then the alternative, maybe the hybrid of those, is you are the air traffic controller. You're the one kind of,
Yeah.
knowing what everything is doing and aggregating and collating. And I just find it so interesting, the opportunities that exist, but there's a lot of competition from private sector in this research
Oh,
space.
huge amounts. And you
So
mentioned
maybe
think
it's not the right
tanks.
choice for everybody,
Well,
but
there are a lot of policy think tanks who across the spectrum who are gathering this data themselves. How they present it, of course, is questionable in some instances, but and not necessarily relevant to perhaps what an association member needs. Um, I think, however, that and this is true. This is true of all strategic development, business development. Developing and defining the value proposition. The How we use data I think, as an industry, as a sector, I think is sort of needs looking at, and perhaps AI is one of those things that's going to drive it, because we know that we need to have efficient and effective use of AI. We need an efficient and effective use of our data, and I just wonder if I wonder if, as one tool over here, AI is driving the development of good, robust data. I wondered if that'll filter through and we'll start to say, oh, actually, we've now got a really good benchmark, a good baseline that we can start to build on. And if we'll start to see associations using their own data more widely than they are at the moment, because I think, and by that I don't just mean their internal data. I mean the data they hold about the industry, about the
Yeah.
sector, etc., etc. But, I would expect, if I'm reading a research report, if I'm reading an analysis of my industry, I am going to want to see more than 1%,
Right.
reflected,
I mean, the
you know.
statistical relevance of some of this stuff.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
when you were chatting, I was thinking about the people's use of data and the bias that exists. People can find numbers to
Oh,
make the
yeah. Hmm.
case to prove whatever argument they're trying to make. And I think AI cannot be, we can't await AI's, I don't know, certification of our data or our truth, because it all depends on what you're asking it and what you're putting into it. I mean, you and I have talked about the dangers of dirty data and thinking that what you're getting out of it is then accurate or clean
Yeah, yeah.
or relevant for decision making. You and I delved into white papers in 2024 and have a couple more planned for this
Hmm.
year. So
Hmm.
I believe in thought leadership. I believe in advancing the conversation. I'm just not sure if surveys and AI are going to be those paths forward for it.
Just to be clear, though, I don't think, just to make sure I'm not confusing the discussion with AI. I'm simply saying I'm not talking about AI driving thought leadership. I'm talking about AI as a vehicle, a necessary vehicle for driving successful AI use of AI is to have good, clean data. That's what I mean
Okay.
about the use of AI. Will that facilitate us recognizing more clearly the value of our data elsewhere in our organization and how we use it?
But but I can put in clean data and
Hmm.
still ask a biased question or
Oh, yeah,
put in a
absolutely. Hmm.
manipulative prompt. And the clean data in itself doesn't then protect the output, right?
No, 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 it doesn't. It doesn't at all. It doesn't at all. And again, this goes back to what Gordon and I were discussing on the pod last week about, actually the data is only half the challenge. Actually, the art of a good quality prompt is equally
Yeah.
important. So that's it. Yes, you're right. Good data is only half the clean data is only
Right.
half the story. But it's interesting because actually, you were talking about this proliferation of sector surveys that have published recently, and I'm kind of thinking, you know, do they? On one hand, I'm saying yes, that could be a very useful tool, very useful output for an association to deliver for its members. On the other hand, I'm sitting here looking at the data that relates to our industry, membership, and I'm looking at it thinking, well, that really hasn't told me anything I didn't already know.
No, and
And
it's
and that,
it's it's only proving how stagnant and status quo and I would
yeah,
say uninnovative our sector is. I'm looking at this growth zone
yeah.
2025, state of associations survey results, and 38% of respondents are not admit to not currently being actively looking for innovation within new membership strategies. Like what?
No, we have to take
What?
some, perhaps we have to take solace that this is sort of the 38% of 1%, but it is
I don't
still,
know the
if it is,
return rate for this
all
survey.
right,
I
okay, sorry. Well, let's hope it is only 1%, because
Yeah.
my goodness, if that is indicative of the wider sector, then that is deeply alarming and very,
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
worrying.
Well,
I
and
mean,
they're
go on,
we're
go on.
back to a world we're back to a world where when you ask someone why do people join your association, They're still saying events and conferences and networking. It's like, did we forget what happened over these last 5 years? We haven't. I don't know. Maybe this is what we expected, where the pendulum swings back. Everyone's exhausted by innovation and the tech stack, and so we're happy with
Okay.
mediocrity. I don't
Yeah,
know.
okay. You're right. I mean, actually, the four, if you look at the on that growth zone, and well done to growth zone, by the way. We're not, like we say, we're not affiliated to anybody. Well done, guys, for putting it together. It's good to see
Oh no, no. I
somebody,
love the growth
doing
zone
it.
does this.
But I
I
thought
just
yeah,
uh,
it's quite despondent, dispiriting seeing what's the biggest challenges your organizations face? Number
number
one.
one, difficulty reaching prospective members.
Number two, difficulty communicating your value. Number
Yeah,
three, lack of recruitment strategy. And number four, attracting younger members. Well, that isn't
yeah.
anything. None of that is
It's not
anything we
new.
didn't know.
They're all still substantial, mountains to climb.
But
And maybe
they're all within an association's control. Those four are directly, I mean, it's interesting. The fifth of the five is a lack of employees or staff. Now, yes, capacity, sometimes that's a stretch too far. We simply do not. We have finite resources. We're not going to be able to increase our capacity in the short or medium term. But the other four are supremely within
yeah,
an association's control.
yeah.
Um, so actually, perhaps this is a valuable survey because it tells me that there's a real challenge here within the sector in terms of our willingness to invent, to
Yeah,
innovate, to address these issues that have been issues for a long time.
yeah. No, you're right. And I'm also looking at the MGI report, the Association Outlook report. And I mean, these are foundational research that comes out every year and we can
Mm,
build on
hmm.
um, you know, key findings. I mean, the emphasis around education and training. Most organizations are back to offering only in-person events.
Oh,
They say
God.
63% are only going to do in-person events. So maybe this is time to celebrate the death of the hybrid event,
Well, I'm
which
all right with that. I'm okay with
I'm
celebrating
excited
that.
to
Yeah,
celebrate that. I'm
that's a good
excited to
funeral to
celebrate
be
that.
at. That one. Yeah.
Um, you know, Engagement expectations. 40%, 47% of associations do not plan to raise dues. What are their cost incursions? I mean, with inflation, with tariffs, with all of it, I mean, how many associations are going to not raise dues, find the money they need elsewhere, and offset their increased expenses and overhead?
Well, well, they'll probably put together an income diversification strategy that'll look to sell additional products to make
Yeah.
up the shortfall on the dues income, but will add increased pressure to the administrative burden,
Yeah.
which means we'll put out a below par quality product,
And
and
they're
we'll
going
end
to
up in
the
this
same
vicious circle.
audience. They're going to the
Yeah,
same group they're already selling dues to or selling
yeah.
membership to. I was just working with a client, and the board themselves. These are the volunteer leaders who are committed and long tenured in their support of this organization. And they were talking about how many baskets are getting passed. There's the dues, there's the sponsorship, there's the event registration, there's the political action committee, there's the foundation, there's all of these things.
Mhm.
And when you really start to realize how much you are asking for from your primary audience, maybe raising the dues isn't the right thing to do. And when you're really factoring in how much total they're putting in.
Well, yeah, I mean that's okay. That's fair enough. If that's an informed decision based
Yeah.
on data, a substantive chunk of data that we've got absolute confidence in, then yeah,
Yeah.
if that's an informed decision, roll with it. But again, I think I think what you've just described the problems around that. Because I mean, some of the feedback I'm looking at here is why do you think members don't renew their membership? It's too expensive. Right. Number four, it's too expensive.
Oh, that's
It's
the
not
bottom one. That's the bottom option.
that's what they're saying. They're saying, oh yeah, we people aren't joining because it's too expensive, or they're letting their membership lapse.
Yeah.
Now, if it's not too expensive. your value proposition either isn't good enough or you're not communicating your value
Yeah. Yeah.
proposition.
Yeah.
So invest in one of those challenges that you perceive above, which are difficulty communicating, lack of engagement, attracting young members. Invest there, tackle
Yeah.
those problems. Suddenly, your value proposition isn't too expensive.
Yeah.
It becomes a need to have rather than what too often is perceived as a
Yeah.
nice to have.
And that's the good
Um,
news for, I think, so many small and medium associations. They have value, they have relevant deliverables. They're just not telling the story.
yeah, yeah.
So they don't have to go out and make it. They just have to convey it. And I think that's a good problem to have because you're
Oh,
not
yes, yeah.
starting totally from scratch. Um, it's interesting here, bringing it back to research. 43% of associations plan to conduct, data analytics and use data visualization and dashboards. It doesn't specify whether that's an output to the membership or if that's an
Or
internal
two, yeah.
assessment as it relates to engagement and
hmm
and
hmm
and the association business. But
hmm
that seemed kind of low to me. For under
How much
50%, 43%
are going to? Oh, yeah, no, that
are
is,
going to conduct data analytics. I mean, how
I don't think so. I don't think that's low. I think that's ambitious given how
Oh,
sometimes the
you think
quality.
they're lying. You think they're just saying what they think they're supposed to say.
No, 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 that is not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that at all. I think it's ambitious in so much as, I mean, the quality of data generally in the membership sector, and it's a sweeping generalization, I know, but we have, because of the proliferation of systems that have grown organically here, there, and everywhere, CRMs, LMS, AMS, all these different three-letter acronyms that we use to run our organizations, the proliferation of multiple data sets within our organizations
That
that
don't
are
talk to each
that
other.
don't talk to each other, that sometimes contradict each other.
Yeah, that's the
Um,
WTF acronym. That's the
there
other
you
three
go. There
letters.
you go. I think actually 43% who feel confident that they can use their data to do some
Yeah.
meaningful analytics is actually quite a good, I think it's actually
Okay.
probably
All
quite a
right.
good
All right.
number.
You're winning
Um,
me over. You're winning me over.
what isn't a good
Um,
number? What isn't a good number is that 48% of associations do not offer automatic credit card renewal for their membership fees. I mean,
but
come on, it's a big quick win, that, isn't it? It's a quick win.
but isn't the real question, why you're not? Is it about the credit card fees? Is it about the tech back end? Is it about your members are companies and need invoices and purchase orders? I mean, I think there's a lot that could go into that number and explain why it's so low.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's
Um,
fair enough. I agree,
so
but I think I think e-commerce now is front and center of everything. So
yeah,
yeah, I would want to bet you're right. I would want to better understand. Well, actually, what's the deal with it? Because it's still it's half the sector
yeah,
according to this data. Um, so you're absolutely right. Again, there you go. There's a case in point about, well, actually, the data is only as good as not just what you're presenting, but how it's been, not just the output that it's presenting, but actually how's it
yeah,
translated the data that you've put into it.
yeah.
Because that actually
So
is,
the reason I bring this up now, here early in the year, is to really challenge the association audience to ask themselves, where is research and data and thought leadership going to exist in your annual plan? Is it something that you should be doing to drive and advance your mission? Is it something you could be doing to make money? Is it something that will help you clean your data? Do we just need to all give up on surveys altogether and just get back to good old phone calls? I mean, I see so many promotions and advertisements and solicitations for people who want phone campaigns. I mean, we're going back to phones.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, is this really more fundamental in that we need to understand how we're going to communicate with people moving forward?
But I think, well, I mean, to on behalf of the sector to answer one of those questions, my response is yes, we should. Research and data should be, at everybody's, a part of everybody's business modeling. I think, as with everything, if you want half-hearted results, then invest in a half-hearted process. If you want real value, then you've got to really invest in hardcore quality market research. And there are many. In fact, I
Yeah.
noticed recently in the last couple of years there are quite a few specialists cropping up in the sector that are specializing in market research within the membership environment. And yes,
Yeah.
it's on, as a capital output, it's not cheap, but then the opportunity cost of not investing in it is far, far
Yeah.
outweighs your initial
Yeah.
outlay. So if
Yeah.
you know, as with everything, if you want to invest in a cheap IT system, you're going to have problems. If you want to invest in
Are you
cheap
saying you get what you pay
consultancy,
for? Are you
you
saying you
get
get
what
what
you
you pay
pay
for?
for. You get what you pay for. It's absolutely
Well,
true.
I mean, I have
So,
an association colleague, they're investing in a feasibility study. And I was really excited, and saying I'm proud of them sounds condescending, but I was really excited to see them investing in that research and they're
right.
using a third
Yeah.
party. They're doing the legwork to figure out whether, a new certification is going to be viable. And I love that they're doing it right. They're not just asking the board. They're not just taking a
Yeah.
survey.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you, I was watching Shark Tank the other day, and I think it was Mark Cuban said, listening to your customers can be highly overrated
Mm.
because they're thinking singularly about their own needs and their
Always.
selfish expectations. It doesn't factor in business capacity,
No.
margins,
Yeah.
competition, all the
hmm
other things. So
Yeah.
I agree with you that you get what you pay for, and you have to remember that if you want something quality, you want something fast, and you want something cheap, you can only choose two of those things.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard that before?
No, no,
It pretty
no,
much
no.
applies to everything. I mean,
Okay.
you're planning anything, you want to undertake anything. You're not going to get it fast and cheap. You're not going to get it quality and fast. You're
There
not
you
going to
go.
get it all
Yeah.
those
hmm
variations. I always try to remind myself, and especially when those you get those RFPs that are like 20 pages and they want it done in 60 days. I
Don't
I
get me started. Don't get me started.
I know we're not
Don't
talking
get me
about that.
started on RFPs. Don't. Don't. I just will say this. I will say this, right? I
Yeah.
will say this. A Canadian association who will remain unnamed 25-page RFP for a 5,000 Canadian dollar training
Are you
course.
so you're going to throw the entire country under the bus? What? This is very Trumpian of you. What are you doing? You're taking on Canada.
No, I'm not. I'm just
You're
saying. I'm
shot
saying.
fired.
I'm saying. Come on, guys. Come on. You get what you pay for, right?
Wowzers. I love Canada, by the way. I mean, look at my colors today. I've maple
You
leaves
are.
everywhere.
You're like a Canadian. You're like the Canadian flag. Only all
That's
white and
right.
red. There you go.
That's right.
Excellent.
All right. Again, we're not going to talk RFPs. We know it's your trigger. We know it's a trigger. So what's I have a list. Hold on, let me get my book of
Oh,
Andrew's
away with
triggers.
you. Away
Hold
with
on, hold
you.
on, hold on. Andrew's triggers.
Ah.
Hold on. Oh, that's page
Do you know,
32.
actually, can I just tell you this, right? Can I tell you this? I just got to say, right, because it was the rudest thing I have experienced in a long time.
Hold on,
And
let
I've
me
been
get a
do
pen.
and
Let
I've
me
been
write
doing
this
this
down.
podcast for 5 years with Elisa, right? I was running a
Go
session
ahead.
last week, and I was running a session 2 weeks ago. Again, they shall remain anonymous.
Do you want to name their country?
America, USA,
How
right?
dare you?
We were
Okay.
doing this. We're doing this intro, get to know you thing. Okay, ask. Do this thing where you just have a question to answer. And this guy's opens his and he says, "Oh, what is my pet peeve?" And he said, "I'd only been in the room 20 minutes," and he said, "Huh, smart aleck consultants with an English accent."
Did you immediately correct him that you're not English, that you're Welsh?
Well, Joe, I didn't need to. Somebody else across the table said it to him. But I thought, oh my God, I can't
All right.
believe. You know what?
So
I've been in the room 20 minutes. You don't get to talk to me like that. You don't get to be
All right.
that.
So Andrew's
God.
triggers. I do have a page for this now. Andrew's triggers, 20 plus page RFPs.
Oh, Four plus
Um,
page RFPs.
let's see, assholes. That could be
Yeah,
another
yeah, I
trigger for
would
you.
go with that. Yeah, go with
You're
that.
allergic to them. Um, well, it's a long list. We don't have to air it out now. But the whole reason I brought this up, I mean, again, I don't want
Oh, there
to,
was a
I don't
reason.
want
Was
to,
there was a reason?
I
Was
don't want
there?
to mention that this whole thing isn't about you, but the reason I brought it up is because we haven't really finalized the white papers that we want to take on and some of the topics that we want to do some research around.
Uh-huh.
What are you thinking? I mean, we have a big one that we've been chewing on for a while.
And I'm still
Uh,
chewing on it. I'm still chewing on it.
yeah.
It does. It intrigues me. Does it excite me? I don't know. It definitely intrigues me, but I'm chewing it over still.
Well, I'm
Just saying.
struggling with the academic side of it. Where's the research piece of it? And maybe we could just let people in on it a little bit, pull back the curtain.
If you
Are you
want
okay
to,
with
but
that?
then don't want to get them too excited. Go on.
Well, obviously, they may not be excited. They may only be intrigued.
Yeah.
Um, we wanted to talk about trust in social and civil structures. The association world, the association layer to our civilization is an important one. I think of it as the fourth leg of government, fourth branch of government here in the States. But we've also seen an erosion of trust, whether it's with government, whether it's with authority, whether, all of these corporations. How does that affect the nonprofit world? Does it trickle down to us? I say yes, but I'm not sure how to prove that. I'm not sure whether this is going to be case study based, and if that's what we have to rely on, who's going to want to tell that story?
Mm,
Who's going to want to share that with us?
mm.
But when you ask people to be volunteers, when you tell people the board made a decision, when you ask people to give their input on a survey, the first thing they want to know is, are you going to sell my data?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
this
Mm-hmm.
distrust that is intrinsic in all of these elements of our lives, how is it going to in the short, medium, and long term negatively impact our ecosystems of engagement? That's my question to the world. That's what I had hoped we were going to take on, but it's something we've been chewing on, and I'm not sure what we're going to get out of it for the broader sector.
Mm. Okay.
You seem highly disinterested, so
I'm not. I'm not disinterested, but like I say, we've been chewing on it for months, and I just don't know at the moment whether I
okay.
don't know. I don't
How
know.
about how about we do a podcast about it? What do you think?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. And if I get super excited in the podcast, then I'll write the
You
white
won't.
paper.
You won't. You won't.
No.
You
Okay.
super excited? Yeah, you won't.
Okay.
Um, but I would love to kind of hear from the association transformation audience. What are they not getting as it relates to the sector? I mean, we see membership benchmarking, we see association tech reports, we see all kind of the same research year after year. And
Mm.
what's most valuable about it is its year over year comparisons. And that's why I love, MGI, I love Growth Zone, I love all these organizations that undertake this
Yep.
as part of their thought leadership and part of their deliverables and contribution to the profession, to the industry. But what are we not digging into? What do we need to discuss? What do we need to explore that isn't these obvious buckets of replicatable survey questions? So that's what I'm wondering is where do we need to push? I want big thinking this year. I want big thinking.
Uh-huh.
No?
I
Am I
wanted
having
we
a
want
temper tantrum? I'm
you kind
sorry.
of are actually. My God. God,
I'm
yeah, you are.
sorry.
Go for it. I don't mind. Go for it. Knock yourself out.
I don't know. Maybe it's just, I mean, I don't know. I'm past my seventh year itch. This is Brewer Pratt Solutions has been around for 8 years now. So very exciting. But I just want to push. I want to think bigger. I want to help people evolve. I use that word all
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
time. And I really want to be transformative. I really want to help organizations transform because we are at an inflection point. And maybe it's economic, maybe it's social, maybe it's political, maybe it's based on engagement and participation, maybe it's technological, but things are going to be dramatically different before the end of the decade. Dramatically different. And I can't stress this to my clients enough. And no one seems to be alarmed or
There's no,
motivated
yeah.
or feel
Where's
any
the sense of
urgency.
urgency? Yeah. Where's the
Yeah,
sense of urgency around it all? I know. I know. Yeah. Is that sense of urgency prevalent in the private sector? Do you know?
I think so. More so, maybe because they're driven in different ways and they
Mm-hmm.
have more short term deadlines and expectations. They go quarter by quarter. They go,
Yeah.
financial report and
Mm-hmm.
client report by client report. And the expectations on them are higher. Their competition is more of a pressure. So I don't know what it's going to take. I'm still shocked by how few organizations had to close up shop over the the pandemic.
What, associations or just businesses in general?
Associations. I thought many more membership associations would have to shutter their doors during COVID.
Yeah, but
And
many
that
more of
didn't
them,
seem to happen.
but I think many more of them are scraping along now.
Maybe it's just a longer, maybe the thinning of the herd is just a longer process. But I really thought that urgency and that fear that hit everyone
Yeah.
during that era
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
would live on into longer term and more permanent behavioral changes and more permanent appetite for innovation. Maybe not risk, and I know they're
Yeah, yeah, I know.
intertwined,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but I want big thinking. I mean, I'm even look at agendas and speaker requests, and we're talking about the same things.
I feel like we've gone off. I think we've gone off piste now. We've moved away
I
from
know.
data and surveys, and we kind of gone into,
You're right.
Elisa
I'm
just
fine.
having a
I'm
temper tantrum. Uh, a
okay.
Canadian temper tantrum. It's really quite a nice one.
Stop it. It's so funny when we do this, we talk about our triggers, we talk about what's worked and what's not worked in our businesses, what we've learned from our experiences and temper tantrums and this and that. It's so funny when people come up to me and they're like, "Oh, I've been listening to Association Transformation. I've caught a few podcasts." And they really do they feel like they know us. And now I
Yeah.
realize why, because we keep nothing behind the curtain. This is us.
Well, right. Before we wrap up, I want to just acknowledge some of our listeners around the world because
Yes, please
I haven't
do.
done this for a while. I haven't done this for a while. So I just want to say hello to our listeners in Au-
Hello.
Auckland, New
Oh,
Zealand. Oh,
okay.
okay. I want to say hello to our listeners in, oh, let's have a look. Arlington Heights, Illinois.
Okay.
Don't know where that is, but well, I know where Illinois is.
Yeah.
So
Good.
yeah,
Very good.
good. I want to say hello to our friends in Barcelona, Spain.
Oh, okay.
And then finally, have we got any listeners in the UK? Oh, I want to
You've
say
driven them
hello.
all away. You've
We
pissed them
don't
all
have
off.
anybody. I want to say hello to our listeners in Bexley in England.
Okay. Okay.
Oh my God, we're everywhere. We're flying everywhere. Oh my God, we've got listeners in Moscow. Oh my God.
Ooh, wow. That's the most excited you've been in like 3 weeks.
Yeah, well, it's
I've
like,
never heard
ooh,
you gasp like that.
hmm. Oh, we got listeners in Joburg, in Johannesburg, oh my God, we're everywhere. God, this is
Okay.
amazing.
So the point
Now I'm just
is,
getting sucked into this data. Anyway, go on,
yeah.
wrap it up.
Okay.
Take
So
us home.
we have data. We appreciate the industry's data. It shows some good things, it shows some concerning things. The response rates in themselves are concerning. So be serious about your data. Take it seriously. You get what you pay for. And to our worldwide community of association transformation listeners, the AT family, what should we call our listeners? ATers, AT,
Victims, sufferers, uh, traumatized.
Transformers.
Oh, yeah, robots in disguise. Yeah.
So anyway, we have to come up with our Swifty, like what's the name for the association transformation listener? But more
Okay.
importantly, this community of listeners, this worldwide association transformation family, What are you doing research on? What do your members want? What's feasible to pay, to charge for, and what can we look into for you? We're dumping the trust white paper, so let us know what we can explore and investigate for you. We'd be happy to. And until next time, put your members and your mission first.